Hello everybody, my name is Wade Bradford. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about something that's more serious than I usually talk about. Most of the time I'm talking about nonsense. I suppose maybe I'm still doing that with today's video, but it's not really nonsense to me. I want to talk about fear. In particular, I want to talk about artistic fear. There's a lot of fears that I have. I'm afraid of sharks whenever I'm swimming in the ocean. I'm afraid of losing my loved ones. I'm afraid of failing my loved ones. What else am I afraid of? Vampires. Today I'm talking about artistic fears. Scary things that many creative people feel, myself included. I think this is going to be a useful list for anybody that's a writer, but maybe also if you are a singer, a dancer, an actor, an architect, a painter. I'd love to hear your thoughts about these fears in the comments. So here we go. Now I thought about this. I thought about these ideas from the term FOMO, which stands for the fear of missing out. And if I'm defining FOMO correctly, and I don't know that I am, I think of FOMO as whenever you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook and you see somebody having a really good time. Maybe they're on a yacht, or maybe they're at a party, or maybe they are traveling through the Swiss Alps, and you feel like, wow, I wish I was there, I wish I had their money, or do whatever, kind of a level of envy. Anybody can have it, not just artistic types, but I think artists will often have it when they see someone with an amazing career or someone with amazing products. Any level of professional envy could probably count as FOMO. Yeah, I don't think I have that, and I think that might be how I'm defining it. I don't really like getting out that much, so I don't look at people at cool concerts or parties and feel like I should be there. When I look at the travel photos, I think, wow, that's pretty, but I'm looking at it right now, so do I really need to spend all that time and energy to actually go to the Swiss Alps? Maybe not. So because of my introverted nature, I don't feel like I'm missing out that much. So I don't have FOMO, but I do have some of these. We're going to call this one FOROS. That's fear of rejection or success. I do know some people that I've bumped into now and then who seem to have a fear of success, meaning that they don't really want to succeed because that will bring change. So maybe it's a fear of change in their life. They would have to accept a promotion, or they would have to, put themselves out there more, or deal with the temptations of being wealthy. I don't really understand the fear of success. I do understand the fear of rejection because I have been rejected many times and it hurts. I don't like being rejected. I don't know anybody who does like being rejected, but I think some people get over it far quicker than I do. So I've never had the fear of rejection or success so badly that I didn't send things out. I've always been excited in my work enough to, and maybe arrogant enough to want to send my work out. So there are some people that they write something and they feel like, oh, it's not good enough. It's never going to be good enough. I'm not going to send it out into the world until I've done draft number 18. And I encourage you, if that is your fear, if you are afraid of rejection or of success, or maybe a combination of both, I want you to try to get over that simply by sending it out into the world. The best thing to do is just send it out there, put yourself out there, because rejection is really a lot like a cold swimming pool. They say, like, if you just jump in, or just go in, wade into the water, and once you are in, it won't be that bad. So the more you send things out, the more you experience rejection, the more you're going to overcome that fear. And probably, I'm not a psychologist, but I have a feeling that any sort of fear or apprehension we have, if we just allow ourselves to feel that emotion, whether it's disappointment, whether it's hurt feelings, whether it's anger, if we just accept the fact that, hey, we're feeling those emotions, we'll get used to handling those emotions. But if we keep just fearing rejection so that we never put ourselves out there, then we're not going to sort of wade into the cold waters of potential rejection and potential success. See, you are probably thinking right now, this guy has obnoxious hair and obnoxious ideas. I don't care. I'm putting it out there anyway. You can write all the bad comments that you want, and it might hurt my feelings a little bit, but I've had my feelings hurt before. I know what that's like. So that's how I overcome the fear of rejection or success. The next one that I have written down in my handy dandy notebook, I'm calling FOBAF. FOBAF is the fear of being a fake, also known as the imposter syndrome. I feel lucky I haven't felt this imposter syndrome too much as an author, but I have felt it quite a few times in my professional life. When I'm not writing books or making these YouTube videos, I teach at a community college, and every once in a while, not when I'm a teacher in front of the classroom, I feel pretty good about that. It's when I'm around other teachers at department meetings or curriculum meetings or whatever kind of meeting, and everyone's talking like a grown-up, and then I feel like I'm faking this. I'm like just kind of nodding, going like, yes, we are having adult conversations about things. And I feel kind of like fake. So that's how I connect with the imposter syndrome. If you feel like a fake artist, all I can tell you is that as long as you're creating something, you're not fake. Now, if you plagiarized something, yeah, you're an imposter. Or if you are publishing books and somebody else is writing those books for you, I'd say you're an imposter. And you know what? If that's you, you're in good company, because there are some best-selling authors that are complete fakes. Carolyn Keene, fake author of the Nancy Drew books, who you don't even exist. You're the imposter. You're the fake one. Create things. Don't feel like an imposter. You aren't. You're real. You're making art, and you are real. You don't need to feel like an imposter. All right, this fear is one that I had for a very long time, and I'm calling it FOMO, fear of never getting accepted. So, for those of you out there who want to be traditionally published, if you're a writer, or maybe if you're some other kind of artist, you want to sell your paintings, or whatever the gatekeeper is in your artistic world, that's perhaps, for me at least, that was the biggest fear of not being accepted, not going through those gates and being traditionally published. It was really agonizing, actually. I've probably gone over this before, but let me quickly recap. When I was in my teens, I was very passionate about writing screenplays and writing books and writing plays. And so by the time I was 17, I thought, like, I should sell something by the time I'm 18 or 19 or definitely 20. By 21, I should have an Academy Award. So I had very high expectations. And so when I couldn't sell anything, even like little articles to magazines, that developed a big fear that not only was I not going to sell anything that week or that month or that year, but maybe I was never ever going to not just sell anything, but get anything published, that I was never going to get past the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers are coming, do you hear that? There were two paths that I took to get over that fear of FOMO, of not getting accepted. And the simple way is to just keep working until you get an acceptance letter, is the simple but hard way of approaching that. I really wanted to be published, and started trying to get published around the age of 17, and I don't think I was published until the age of 27. So it was 10 years of rejection, and the first acceptance was not in my particular genre. There was a small magazine that was called Doggone, and they gave you a little bit of money if you wrote a travel article about you traveling around the country with your dog. And so I did that. We took photos of our little quiche hound, and I got published, and that was the first time that I was in print and that I got money for being published. So that's That's my story of how I first got published. But then I still had FONGA, and that was because it's like, well, I got published in this tiny little dog travel magazine, but am I going to get published for the things that I love to write? So I had to keep creating things, and finally I got an acceptance letter, and one of my children's plays sold. But by the time I sold that children's play, I was in the process of getting over that fear anyway, and that was because I was writing things that were being seen by an audience. So I wrote several children's plays before any of them got published, and I not only wrote them, but a friend of mine and we directed them, and so I was writing things that were put on in front of an audience, and even though those things weren't published for quite a while, people were watching them and responding to them, and I could tell that people liked them, and there was an audience, and there was applause. And so getting audience feedback, even though it had nothing to do with getting published, that helped me overcome, I guess, the fear of being an imposter or a fake, or the fear of not being good enough, or the fear of never getting acceptance. So when I was writing things during that period, when I was 17 to 27, self-publishing was not really an option. And things have changed since then. Self-publishing is a really powerful medium, and if you have work that you are passionate about and you know deep down that it's good, then you might want to use self-publishing as a pathway to get it out to an audience, even if it's what I call a micro audience, even if it's just a dozen people. If you can get it out to people that want to read it and they respond to it positively, that's going to help, and that will give you strength, so that if your goal is to be traditionally published someday and you haven't made it there, take little self-publishing pit stops along the way, and that will continue to fuel you. Another way of thinking about that, to contradict myself, is to say that, hey, no, don't worry about self-publishing. If you want to be traditionally published, keep working on it, keep writing book after book after book after book after book until you are traditionally published. You can totally do that. That might be the way that works best for you. I don't know that that's the best path for everybody, and here's why. Let me try to explain myself. When I write something that is seen by an audience or read by an audience, and I get feedback from that audience, even if it's just the form of applause or laughter, or maybe it's an angry Goodreads or something like that, that shapes and influences my work a bit, not entirely, but it does shape me. Some people, as an artist, they don't want to be shaped by feedback at all. To some degree, I do want to know, what readers are interested in. So if I write, a summer camp adventure, sci-fi, supernatural thriller, which I have, Camp Oh My Gosh, go check it out, and people love it and they want more of it, or they want more in that genre, that would sort of inspire me. Or if I hear an audience member or a reader say, like, wow, I would love to see that kind of book, but maybe it's set in the Old West, that can influence me. I find that when I'm writing something and it doesn't get out there, then I start to repeat the same themes over and over, because the creative work that's just stuck in my desk, that hasn't gone out into the world, and so I feel like it hasn't been set free, and so I will sometimes go over some of the same themes. All right, so I saved my biggest fear for the last, and this is what I'm calling not FOMO, but FOMI. FOMI is the fear of mediocrity and insignificance. What do I mean by mediocrity? I mean that the stuff is just kind of meh. Like, for example, this very YouTube video. Here I am in a watermelon shirt. The lighting's being ruined because the sun is slowly coming my way. I have my close-ups on my hands. My hair's a mess. I turn it over here. The chair's not lit well. This dog over here is barking. That one is getting ready to bark and cause trouble. And I will probably do. And the camera's shaking. It's mediocre. It's not excellent. And so how do I feel about that? Well, I'm kind of fearful about that sort of stuff, especially when it comes to, I'm going to adjust this, trying to be better. not so mediocre. So how do I feel about this? Well, I'm often afraid of creating mediocre things. You know that you can write, you know that you can create things, but you also feel like it's not that good in comparison, and therefore doesn't really have that much value. The I in FOMI, the insignificance aspect, that basically is the fear that nobody's going to care, nobody's going to pay attention, you're not going to have an audience, you're not going to, in the case of YouTube video, you're not going to have many followers, and you're not going to have very many views, and you're not going to have very many likes. In the case of book sales, not too many people are going to buy your book. In the case of, art, nobody's going to pay attention to your illustrations when you've put your work on display. People are just going to walk by. So this is a big one for me, because I want to have an audience, and when I put myself out there and I don't get an audience, that makes me feel bad. So it doesn't necessarily stop. Here's the thing. The fear of mediocrity and insignificance doesn't stop me from creating these things, but it does, the reason why I'm afraid of it, or I'm counting it as a fear, it does often stop me from enjoying the artistic process. So that's something that I'm trying to work on more. I want to keep making things. So that's part of the insignificance too. I feel like, I want to make things that outlive me, and I want to make things that are meaningful to people beyond me after I'm gone. Right? We want to leave our mark on humanity, on the world, on society. Most of us do, at least. I know I do to a small extent, and so I'm trying to find ways that I don't feel bad if my product isn't as excellent as it could be. I'm fear of being insignificant, I'm fear of not reaching an audience, and I'm afraid that I'm only going to be making things that are just kind of or worse. At least there's something really funny about failing really badly, like The Room. That's a pretty epic failure that everyone loves, but it's the kind of the meh stuff. I'd like to create excellence, at least a few things that are excellent, and then if I do, I want those to, I want people to notice those. And so with that in mind, I've been developing ideas about how to overcome the FOMI or FOMI, how to overcome that fear of mediocrity and insignificance. But I'm going to save that. I'm going to save my findings. I have my ideas written in my wonderful notebook, my wonderful journal. But I'm going to contemplate them a little bit more, experiment a little bit, and I'm going to get back to you to let you know. Maybe a week from now, I'm going to get back to you and let you know how I've been dealing with my fear of mediocrity and insignificance. I would love to know more about your fears, whether they are fears of spiders or goat, or fear of the wind blowing your hair around. I'd also love to know about your artistic fears and what they are like and how you cope with them. Thanks very much for listening. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.